Welcome to Line Change, a podcast about hockey, social issues, and change makers in the game we love. I'm your host, Ian Kennedy. Welcome to Line Change. I'm your host, Ian Kennedy, and today we are talking to guest Zsuzsanna Kolbenheyer from the IIHF. Zsuzsanna sits on the Women's Council, and we're going to talk about a lot of potential exciting moments in women's hockey, from Inspire the Next, a program that Zsuzsanna is spearheading, to a potential World Junior Hockey Championship for women and a World Cup. It's an exciting conversation that I'm happy to have you for. I'm Ian Kennedy, and this is a Line Change. Thanks for joining me, Zsuzsanna, and we are here to talk about women's hockey and the growth of the women's game across the world. Of course, you work for the IIHF, and you have just launched a very exciting program called Inspire the Next. And I don't want to take up time talking about what I know about it, which is just from reading an article, but I would like to hear from you, maybe explaining to everyone what this program is all about, what the goal of it is, and why the IIHF thought to start something like this.
Yes, thank you very much. So we are also very excited about this campaign, which is a women's promotional campaign. And we would like to provide our M&As and event organizers with a digital resource package that will support women's specific topics and content needs. So we would like to help them because we realize that this is a huge challenge for most of our countries, M&As, to focus on marketing or promoting women's hockey, women's events. So we also will be working with the top performance centers to produce resource materials that will be used to expand education directly focused to coaching and recruiting female players, coaches, and team staff, with the goal of building greater understanding and awareness in women's hockey. Our main objectives are to empower women and girls on and off ice, together with raising the women's game in terms of participation, awareness, and professionalism. This campaign is the basic for women confidentially create the next chapter of women's ice hockey today. So this is, as you can hear, really important for us. We really would like to talk more about women's hockey, to have more questions about women's hockey, because I think we have a great vision, but we need a lot of people to help us to grow together, let's say.
Absolutely. It is growing across the world. I'm from Canada, so of course we've been watching the growth of women's hockey skyrocket since the first World Championship and the first official World Championship in 1990. And of course, after the 1998 Olympics, things really took off. So I've seen that. I've seen the rivalry between Canada and the US, but more recently, there's been quite a growth in the competitive level internationally, and not just at the top level. I don't think people understand how many nations are actually playing women's hockey right now. But the global growth, we saw Sweden win silver at the U18s. Czechia won a bronze medal in the 2022 Senior National World Championships. We had Nila Lapusinova from Slovakia really steal the media spotlight at that U18 with her spectacular performance. So what was once thought as kind of this only Canada and the US is changing. And I'm wondering, from your experience working with the IIHF, working in this program where you're trying to quite literally inspire the next generation of women hockey players across the globe, what growth have you seen of the women's game internationally?
Yeah, I think in a very special situation, because when I started to play hockey in Hungary, no one else, no other girls played hockey. So I could be the first girl playing ice hockey in Hungary, and I could see the development in my home country, which was really interesting to watch from the beginning till there where we are right now. I mean, Hungary is playing in the top division, and I have to say that all of the countries and divisions developed really, really a lot during the last 10 years since I was elected to the IIHF Council. Um, if you go to any divisions, you can see that girls can play better hockey than they could play 5-10 years ago. Currently, we have 44 countries participating in our World Championship program. The newest are like Estonia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Serbia, and Israel. They are the newcomers, let's say. But outside of these nations, we also have countries where they already started the women's program, but due to different challenges, they cannot join us officially. I mean, on the World Championship level. So for this year, for example. There was the first ever Women's Development Cup for those countries in Kuwait, where Luxembourg, Colombia, UAE, Kuwait, Andorra, and Ireland played a great tournament. That shows that women's hockey is really growing everywhere. Of course, we have different levels, but still also the number of players are growing in a very, very good way, I have to say. We have now 229,000 women's hockey players all around the world. And in 2017, we only had 192,000. So that means that in 5 years, we have now 37,000 more than we used to have in 2017. So I think that shows that we have more and more players. So we also have to take care of them. And IIHF really tries to encourage its members to promote the game of ice hockey for women and girls as well. So for that, we annually organize 12 senior and under 18 women's international tournaments. I think that's our main focus to give those nations the opportunity to play on an international level. But in addition to that, we also do global recruitment events, which are dedicated for girls. The so-called World Girls Ice Hockey Weekend in October and the Global Girls Game in February every year. And we also have every second year a so-called high performance camp. This is more for the top countries, for those ones who already have a let's say good program running and they would like to get to the next level. This camp is created for players, goaltenders, coaches, team staff, and other supporters of women's hockey, and we would like to develop top level instructors for our players. This program helped a lot, for example, countries like France, Slovakia, Austria, Hungary. So those countries, which I said they are already on a certain level, but to get to the next level, they still need help. IIHF also employed in 2010 a full-time women's program manager, and this was also a huge help for women's hockey because now we have a person in office who is only focusing on women's hockey issues. And through the Women's Committee, which is a recommending body for the IIHF Council, we can raise a lot of issues how we can or how we imagine to help our countries. And our last initiative, I'm also very proud of that. We had the Women's Summit in February in Budapest, in Hungary. We already wanted to do it in 2020, but due to COVID, we had to postpone it twice. And our main focus was there to build a network for leaders in women's hockey so that they get to know each other in person. And after that, it's so much easier to communicate, to set up exhibition games, different tournaments, other programs, camps. So I think this is a really a good way where we go right now, because you can also see the development everywhere.
Absolutely. I just read the that Serbia won the I guess the bottom tier of the World Championships, and seeing that they were only in this for, I think this is their second season, is
Yes.
quite spectacular to see them already climbing the ranks. And I've learned so much about the international women's game, knowing that you're from Hungary. First of all, I've been there. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
But I went to the PHF All Star game this year, and they had a world team, and one of the stars was Fanny Gasperix, and I was kind of surprised, I guess, and a little embarrassed at my ignorance, the fact that I didn't know where she was from. And so when I looked it up while I was there, I completely expected to see that this Team World member was from Czechia or Sweden or Finland or something along those lines of the countries that I really knew about as women's hockey nations. And then I saw Hungary, and I was really impressed. And she was a fan favorite at the weekend. The little kids that were there watching her were really, you could see that she gained a ton of fans at that weekend. And of course, as you said, Hungary is in the top bracket of the Women's World Championship. France is the newest nation that's France is the newest nation that's joined that group right now. And again, when I looked at France's roster for that World Championship, I was surprised to see the number of top talent from the NCAA, from the SDHL in Sweden. It really, the game is growing rapidly across the world for women right now. And some of the numbers you gave me of the 37,000 plus growth over the last few years is really impressive to me, as even as someone that thinks that they know the women's game quite well. That was a surprise to me. So that's all encouraging. But of course, um, there are still gaps, and that's something that I always like to discuss, because if we don't recognize the gaps and the barriers, it's really hard to overcome them and to work to change those things. I know that one of the things that I personally have written about before and that I would love to see, so I'm going to put the pressure on you here to bring this message back to the IIHF, okay?
Okay.
I really want a women's World Junior tournament. I know that we jump right now from the U18s to the senior nationals, and I think there's a gap that I would love to see all of these talented NCAA players and the the Nila Lapusanovas that we didn't know about. And of course, when she's done with the U18s, she's already playing for
Yeah.
Slovakia's national team. But some of the players that are just below that, and it's, I don't even want to say below that, but in Canada here, like the top scorer at the U18 tournament for us was a woman named Caitlin Kramer, and fabulous hockey player. But for her to crack Team Canada after she turns 18, she's probably going to disappear from a lot of people's minds for 3 or 4 years at least, until, if not more, maybe until she's done her NCAA career. And so bring that back. No pressure, but I would love to see a women's World Junior tournament. But I think from your standpoint, you obviously probably see some of the barriers that exist for women across the globe, and I'm hoping that maybe you can shed some light for people from your experience about what barriers might still exist for women in hockey, or what have existed historically, that the IIHF, through programs like this Inspire the Next, and through the education, et cetera, that you're looking to provide, can help to solve.
Yeah, just quickly respond to your idea. We had a lot of discussions about it already, so it's already on the table, let's say. Uh,
Excellent.
of course, it's not easy to create a new category because, of course, it's also a money question because that would mean a new championship structure. But on the other hand, we also know that this has to come one day. So maybe not next year, but in the near future. So we are talking about it. And if we are talking about the barriers you mentioned, if we are honest, there are barriers at all levels in any sport. So this is not a something special for women's hockey, I guess. But if we would like to talk about our biggest challenges, it's I think the most important are that having parents understanding that ice hockey is also for girls. Still, a lot of parents, for example, doesn't know that in women's hockey we have no body checking. It can also, I guess, influence their mindset. The other big challenge, what I can still experience basically in every country when we are talking about coaches, that we have to change their mindset. The coaches, the team leaders, that they should welcome girls in the clubs, and this is not the case right now. So there are countries and clubs where they are really supporting it, but there still we have some, let's say, old school coaches. They still think that hockey is not for girls, so they should go figure skating or whatever, ballet, but not to be hockey players. Also a huge challenge, I think, really everywhere. Yeah, maybe not in Canada because you have a lot of ice rinks, but getting more ice time, and not only late night. So still in a lot of cities, the girls are getting the late night practices, which is also, of course, not a very ideal situation. Or just finding a girls only team. Not 100 kilometers away from your home. So those are the let's say initial barriers. Of course, we have a lot more, but these are, let's say, the hockey, women's hockey specific ones, um, which I think some of them would be easy to change. Of course, getting more ice time, we would need most likely more ice rinks, but also um, it can be like one day the girls are getting the afternoon practices and the boys the late night. So it doesn't have to be necessary that always the girls are suffering, let's say. As I told you before about the campaign, that this is also a huge challenge, I guess, that in most of the countries, M&As, they are more, or let's say only focusing how they can promote or marketing their men's team or their boys under 18 under 20 team, and they don't really have the time and the resources to do that for their women's. So I asked many times the question, if nobody knows about it, that there is a, let's say, not even a world championship, but a Four Nations tournament in your city, and nobody knows about it, then why the people would go there and watch if they don't even know about it? So these are like things we could change easily, but for that we realized on the IIHF level that we have to help our M&As to give them the resources, like these materials I was talking about. For example, with the Inspire the Next campaign, we provided them a fully adaptable promotional toolkit, and they only have to insert their own photos and messages, and they are ready to use. So I think it sounds like, why is it a big help? But it's it's a huge help for them. They don't have to create it. They don't have to uh, pay it. So this is how we try to help.
Now, the barriers have, as you said, have always existed, and in Canada, it's still the same. It's getting better. The ice times, a lot of different cities have put in rules and regulations for their recreation departments that women's programming must have a certain percentage of that prime time ice in the afternoons and early evenings, so that, as you said, they're not having to practice at 11 p.m. and then try and get to school or work in the morning or whatever it might be. But all of those things have existed forever. I think, as you said, it just depends on getting those member nations to to put the value in the women's game. I know that here we've got professional leagues that are either in operation or trying to start, and the marketing is really coming along. We've got really popular basketball and soccer leagues for women, or football, depending on where you are in the world. But we've got these really popular sports for women at the professional level, and I think that that's coming very soon in the game of hockey, where we start to see the fans and the media jumping on board. I know that the World Championships this year, the tickets sold out very quickly for any package that included Team Canada and the USA in particular. And there was a lot of frustration from people that the tournament was only being played in a 5,000 seat arena because so many people wanted to see it. And that's, not necessarily a critique to anything, rather than it is an exciting opportunity that, yes, there is this much interest in the game now, and it's continuing to grow to the point where, we have to start looking at bigger venues and bigger platforms to make sure that the games are all televised in a really professional way, because the market's there and more people want to see it. And of course, as you're working with this Inspire the Next program, the more young girls that can watch professional streaming, professional broadcasts, the high quality production, I think we're really going to see that global growth continue to go. Because again, back to La Pustanova at the World U18s, there was a lot of people afterwards showcasing that they had bought her jersey, and they had to make her jerseys to get. And to say that about a 14-year-old player, that they had to immediately try and manufacture her club jerseys so that people could buy them to wear, that's exciting. That's a really spectacular moment where the marketability of women's hockey is kind of starting to converge with the talent that's already there. And so I would like to end our conversation by asking you, once this Inspire the Next is done, once it's run for however long this campaign goes on, whether it's a year, whether it's 10 years, whether it's infinitely, where do you see the women's international game going down the line? What do you think it looks like to actually inspire the next generation of women and girls to play this game?
Yeah, I think as you said, right now, I think companies and sponsors are very interested to invest in women's hockey, and I think this can help us a lot. So if we can, let's say, jump on that wave and find good partners for the women's tournaments, for the women's games. We have great ideas with the women's hockey team, with the women's committee. Sorry, let's say that what kind of events we could have, like a World Cup for women's, where we can really showcase the best ones. That everybody can see that, oh yeah, this is a great quality. I know that, for example, the series between US and Canada are already let's say all sold out events
Wildly popular, they are, yeah.
in big arenas. So I think we just have to be a little bit patient, because I don't believe in that you can do everything by tomorrow. So of course we need some more time, but I think we're gonna get there with the women's hockey as well, where, for example, women's soccer is right now, that they can fill huge arenas. Actually, we had a great numbers of viewers for the final in China at the Olympics for US and Canada. That shows as well that the interest is there. We just have to find a way to use it, and to also show, as I said, sponsors that this is let's say, a market where they can or they have to invest to also use this let's say wave that women's are important in sports as well. So I see more and more good events coming. I hope that they're gonna be a professional league as well. I mean, also in North America, we have BHF and we have the PW Association. But of course, it would be great to have one big league for all the players. And then, as you said, there are a lot of international players who could join that league. Of course, if you see the number of players in US and Canada, they are still far ahead of the European or Asian nations. But of course, the number of players will also increase in those countries. So I'm very optimistic, and I think we are in a good way. We just have to be a bit more patient, and we're gonna get there.
I do think, as you said, the wave of international players coming to North America to play, either in the NCAA or professionally, is going to do nothing but help that growth as well. Obviously, the more players that come to play amongst those Canadian and US players, the more frequently we get that high competition, and it just spreads back to those other countries as we see the national teams come together and that growth occurs. So I'm just as excited as you are to see the growth of the international women's game. I know that the IIHF is working to do that, and I really love this Inspire the Next program. So I'm excited to see how it all turns out. And Zsuzsanna, I thank you for joining me today to talk about women's hockey.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you for joining me for another edition of Line Change. I'm your host, Ian Kennedy, and our guest today was Zsuzsanna Kolbenheyer from the IIHF, talking about some amazing potential developments in women's hockey. It's an exciting time to be a women's hockey fan. If you haven't followed the news, we have a brand new women's hockey news outlet through the Hockey News at thehockeynews.com/women's. I hope you check it out. There's so much incredible information there, so many great stories being told, including about the possibility for a Women's World Junior Championship. Thanks again for joining me. That was a Line Change.